It's been pretty interesting to see how Republicans are dealing with Donald Trump's economic policies, how they're responding to them, how they're coping, whether or not they're defending them. Because as we know, the Republican Party is not traditionally the party of tariffs. I mean, Herbert Hoover put a big tariff on back in the 30s. But other than that, the Republican Party has generally been like free trade or bust. They've been very strong in the opposite direction and critical of tariffs. Same with the Democrats, actually. And it was only real staunch leftists within the Democratic Party that supported tariffs. But now Donald Trump is coming out and supporting some of the worst tariffs imaginable at insane rates, very reckless, very irresponsible. And here's how Republicans are responding to some of the economic news. So, Raw Story reports Republican insiders throughout the country are giving Trump the benefit of the doubt that the economic pain Americans are experiencing due to his trade war will be short-lived and won't cripple them at the ballot box in the 2026 midterm elections. But they have their limits. Okay, yeah, of course they do. So here's the deal. They're straight up admitting that this trade war is causing short-term economic pain. I'm kind of surprised they admitted that because Republicans are masters at messaging in the sense that like they know how to never admit defeat. And in a sense, at least going as far as admitting that these tariffs and the trade war are causing short-term pain to Americans, that they're directly causing it, not just that they coincide with it or that it's coincidental, but that they're causing it. The Republicans are admitting this. MAGA Republicans, Trump defenders traditionally, are admitting this. According to a report from Politico's Liz Crampton, GOP lawmakers and campaign consultants are standing firm behind the president and his on-again, off-again tariff proposals for the moment, but are acknowledging things could go south quickly if lower prices and jobs don't return. As Crampton wrote, quote, "Some Republicans are putting an expiration date on how long they think they'll tolerate the economic fallout from Donald Trump's trade war," adding, interviews with nearly 36 Republican leaders and operatives in 7 battlegrounds, from party chairs to strategists to state lawmakers, reveal a growing acknowledgement that economic shocks could hamper the party's prospects in the midterms. According to North Carolina GOP consultant Johnson Felts, quote, "If the economy just completely tanks, then it's political science 101 that the incumbent is in trouble." That's true, but Jonathan, the Republicans are still going to find a way to cope with that. The incumbent party will be in trouble, but the Republicans will not admit that it's the incumbent party's fault. Or will they? Or will they? If they're going as far as admitting that Trump's trade wars are causing short-term economic pain, will they admit when things go too far? I don't know. It seems like the fact that they're taking the baby steps of being like, okay, Trump did something that caused people economic pain. It didn't seem like they would ever be willing to admit that in his first term, that they just be like, oh yeah, the Trump economy was so great, I could afford stuff and gas prices are low, and then Biden came along and ruined everything. And oh, by the way, Trump didn't inherit a good economy from Obama. He definitely didn't. It was all his doing. But now it's like, okay, the buck stops with Trump. He's doing stuff that is drastically different from what President Biden did. And if we see a drastic difference, those drastic differences in terms of economic results can't be chalked up to just a coincidence. Trump is causing them. So, Felts admitted there was a willingness to endure a modicum of short-term economic pain. However, when early voting starts, if you're going to McDonald's and there's no dollar menu left, that's a problem. Jesse Willard, chair of the Decatur County Republican Party in Georgia, stated that support for Trump is steady now, but there are limits. Quote, "If it takes 6 months, a year, you may see a little bit of people grumbling a little. But if it takes more than a couple years, you're going to see people not being okay with that," he admitted. Yeah, you are, because a year and a half from now or so is the midterm elections. So if it takes more than a year, the Republican Party could be in trouble. And this is interesting because I feel like this could be one of those points, a watershed moment, where if Trump really doubles and triples down on these tariffs, reckless tariffs, the Republican Party might find a way to cut him off. They might find a way to say, look, you cannot associate Trump with the Republican Party. The Republican Party is new and cool, and we're not doing tariffs. We have new plans. We're not like that old guard Trump with his tariffs. We're not that lunatic like him, and they'll say, you just need to elect another Republican. This new Republican will be the good Republican, the Republican who finally makes the party great. Because nowadays it's not really accepted that George W. Bush was this amazing Republican. And a lot of MAGA Republicans were like, okay, Bush wasn't the real deal. The Republican Party's not great, but Donald Trump is a a Republican, and at least he's pretty cool. You know, he's fixing things. He's standing up to the establishments in both parties. That's their cope. That's their way of saying, well, look, yeah, the Republican Party has historically screwed people over, served the establishment, started wars, been reckless on trade, been reckless on every single issue. But look, we've got a cool guy now. Our cool guy is Donald Trump. He's got so much charisma. He's funny. Look at him going to McDonald's. Look at him wearing his garbage truck outfit. Look at how he criticizes the wars. Oh, yeah, so cool. Yeah, he called Liz Cheney a warmonger. See, doesn't he represent something different from the Republican Party? We're going to remake the American system with Donald Trump as president. That's been the selling point. But now will the establishment Republican types like Mitch McConnell, who is retiring after 2026, but will they have their opportunity to purge the party of Trump based on these tariffs? Will they say, oh, okay, well, we said there was a limit, and Trump did not abide by that limit. Americans suffered too much economic pain as a result of his tariffs, so we are going to have to distance ourselves from him. Please do not see Trump as representative of the Republican Party. See this next person as a representative of the Republican Party and go out and vote for them, because they'll represent something different than what Trump does, and they're better than the Democrats. That will be their message. So yeah, this just looks like a possibility for rebranding of the Republican Party, where they say, no, listen, we actually are free trade. Trump was just an aberration. I don't know. And will the MAGA base buy it too? Will they buy it? Or will they say, no, we're not going to vote for establishment Republicans who support free trade and criticize tariffs because Trump likes tariffs and Trump is our cult leader and you cannot defy him? So yeah, it's a big question mark, but just a theory that I had. And yeah, what actually is the limit? Will Republicans actually hold Trump to that? Or will they keep pretending that they're in fantasy land where, no, actually the economy is great even when it's not, if Trump continues to double and triple down on tariffs? Will they say, nope, we're still good? Or maybe they'll say, well, we're not necessarily good. I mean, but we're better than we were under Biden. And that means that you need to vote red. Vote for Republicans, because at least, even though the economy sucks, we can come up with some stretch of a garbage argument that, it's better than the alternative. It's better than it was under Biden. It's better than it would be under Harris. She'd cause a crash. She's a socialist or something like that. But, you know, there are many examples now of Republican voters, former Trump voters, going, wow, I was so wrong for voting for Trump. That was so bad. That was a terrible decision. You know, I lost my federal job. The tariffs raised prices. You know, I'm suffering because of this. I didn't want Elon Musk to run the government. I thought that he was just kind of a sideshow, you know, a goofy little guy who pops in and out at Trump rallies and says, yeah, I like the president. He's a cool guy. I like President Trump. He's a cool guy. You know, he's cool. Like, we didn't think that he would be running the federal government in the way that he has, not in the sense that he wouldn't be involved in the federal government. We all understood that, but that he would be out there cutting any government programs he doesn't like, any that he arbitrarily deems wasteful, fraudulent, or abusive. And that's really shameful. It's a violation of separation of powers. So we see these people turning on Trump. And I get that some of these could be paid too. Like they might be like AstroTurf, but no, there are people, some of them are real. At least some of them are real. We know that. We know that people get buyer's remorse when it comes to the Republican Party. It happened in Trump's first term. And with respect to the Democratic Party, it happened during Biden's term too, where people were like, oh, inflation is high and I voted for Biden. Dang, I guess I shouldn't have voted for Biden. You know, and then those people sat out in 2024, among others. So, yeah, there will be buyer's remorse. There will be Republican politicians potentially being like, oh, I don't know about this anymore. I hope so. I hope so. I hope that they have a red line. I hope that they see that there's a limit to how much economic suffering Trump can cause, but maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe they just don't care about, well, no, they don't care about people, but they'll find a way to cope, potentially, you know. They can't ignore reality so hard that they say, well, look, everything's wonderful when everything is actually terrible. But they can find a way to cope and say, well, at least it's better than it was under Biden. Well, I got news for you. Trump was not better than Biden on the economy. I can tell you that. By the end of this term, you're going to come to see that. And it's really unfortunate. Things were not looking all that bad by the end of 2024. They were not. But people had just had enough. You know, the economic conditions didn't improve enough. And so the Democrats paid for it at the ballot box. Let me know what you think in the comments about this story below. Like, comment, or subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching. This has been the Morris the Merrier, and I look forward to speaking to you in my next video.